We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our own ocean. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe some things are meant to stay in the dark. This is a story about the crushed depth. So, I was 6 miles beneath the surface of the Pacific, sitting in the pilot's seat of the DSV Challenger. At this depth, the pressure is over 8 tons per square inch. If the hull were to crack, I wouldn't even have time to realize I was dying. I would just cease to exist. My job was simple: monitor the seismic sensors on the ocean floor for 4 hours, then ascend. It was boring, solitary work. The only light came from my instrument panel and the external floodlights cutting through the eternal blackness outside. I was 2 hours into the shift when I saw movement in the peripheral vision of the starboard viewport. I turned my head, expecting to see a bioluminescent eel or maybe some deep-sea debris drifting past. It was neither. Floating outside the glass, illuminated by the harsh white glare of the floodlights, was a man. He wasn't wearing a submarine suit. He wasn't wearing a helmet. He was wearing a gray business suit, a white dress shirt, and a tie. His hair floated gently in the current. I stopped breathing. My brain tried to reject what I was seeing. At this depth, a human body should be compressed into the size of a soda can. The water temperature was near freezing. There was no oxygen. Yet, there he was, drifting casually, as if he were waiting for a bus. He turned his head. His eyes were open. They weren't bloodshot or bulging from the pressure. They were calm, blue. He looked directly at me. Then he smiled. He raised his hand and pointed a finger at the glass. He wasn't pointing at me. He was pointing at the pressure gauge on my dashboard. I looked down at the gauge. The needle was steady. The hull integrity was 100%. While I looked back up, the man was closer. His face was pressed against the glass. He wasn't holding his breath. He was speaking. I couldn't hear him through the 4 inches of reinforced titanium, but I could read his lips perfectly. He mouthed the words, "Let me in. It is cold." Then, he raised his fist and struck the glass. It wasn't a frantic pound. It was a polite, rhythmic knock. 3 distinct strikes. On the 3rd strike, a spiderweb fracture appeared in the center of the viewport. The impossible had happened. The glass was breaking. I scrambled for the emergency ballast release, my hands shaking violently. I yanked the lever. The sub groaned as the weights dropped, and I began to rocket toward the surface. I stared at the window as the submarine ascended. The man didn't follow. He just stayed there, drifting in the black void, watching me leave. But as he faded into the darkness, I saw him mouth one last thing. "See you at the surface." That is a nightmare scenario. The ocean is terrifying enough without ghosts and business suits.